Maschine and FL Studio surprisingly work really well together, and I'll get to why in a second. Hey guys, Afta here. Today I want to talk about FL Studio and Maschine MK3, but this can relate to whatever hardware you have as long as it's using the Maschine software. This video is aimed at people who have been using FL Studio as their primary DAW, and they either recently acquired Maschine MK3 or they plan to acquire it, and they want to include Maschine in their workflow with FL Studio. Now, the companies that made FL Studio and Maschine native instruments and image line, they do not cooperate to that level for that to be a really smooth process. Despite that, Maschine and FL Studio surprisingly work really well together, and I'll get to why in a second. BEATSTORE had this remix recently, and remix contest, and I wanted to do a remix, but I really wanted, since I got the Maschine, I wanted to really try to make this beat with Maschine. The problem with Maschine is that I don't even know if you could call it a DAW. It's like a really basic beat making station. So that means you don't have a playlist in a sense that you have here in FL Studio. You cannot just drop a file and put it somewhere in the song and have it play with other things. So that was a big problem for me because I couldn't get my acapella to play with the beat that I was making in Maschine. There was a really nice solution actually when I found out that you could use Maschine basically as a plugin in FL Studio. Well, actually I didn't find out. I knew that you could do it, but it just felt so clunky, so I didn't even want to try it. When I tried to actually use that, I discovered that whatever you drop inside here, it's gonna sync with the Maschine playlist inside. So if you don't know anything about Maschine software and you've been using like FL Studio for a while and you know how it works, the Maschine has similar workflow to the workflow that FL Studio had like back in the days when they only had like patterns. They were like just like boxes you put next to each other and you make a beat that way. When FL Studio introduced their ability to put like these audio clips inside, that like revolutionized the software totally, because all of a sudden you can now mix in it and you can master and you can do different things. So that's actually what I do now with FL Studio. How it works for me is that I separated my workflow. I make beats in Maschine, and you can make beats in Maschine either in a standalone or you can do it directly inside. When you're satisfied how it sounds, you can export the track outs from Maschine and then you just load them inside the FL Studio here. This thing here, this is the acapella that they provided in the contest. Maschine is similar to FL Studio in a way because Maschine also has two different modes, just like FL Studio has like pattern and a song mode. The same way Maschine has, they call it ideas and song mode, but basically ideas, it's just like pattern, except that when you make patterns in FL Studio, you can put different patterns on top of each other and create your scene that way. In Maschine, you create your scenes out of patterns that you made before. So that means that you cannot put one scene above another and then have like totally new scene with that. It doesn't work that way. So you have to design those scenes like specifically how you want your intro to sound and then how you want your verse, for example, to sound, and you can use those scenes like repeatedly. You couldn't like put one scene here and then scene two, like you couldn't put intro and then verse under it and then have them play at the same time. It's the same as if FL Studio wouldn't let you put one pattern under the other. That's how it works in Maschine. So you can just use this advantage with FL Studio and Maschine together, that you can put this acapella inside FL Studio and then have it play in sync with the things in here. I put the volume all the way down, although you can do it as well here. You can just turn it off here when you want to work inside FL Studio and not have the sound from Maschine interfere or double the sound that you exported here. Okay, so that's why this thing was off, but we can as well just unplug it here, it doesn't matter. And now I want to show you what happens when you play this thing. If I press play, you will see that these play thingies, what are they called? I don't know, play arrow or something, they will sync up in both software. Well, they won't unless I turn it on. Okay, so that's not gonna happen. But the main thing is that you see here that the volume of the machine is turned all the way down, so you won't get any sound from the plugin itself. I just want to demonstrate that it actually syncs up perfectly. I call this pre-verse because it doesn't have drums, but it's actually where the verse starts. And by the way, what you're hearing now is this is playing only from here because we turned the volume down, so we're not getting any sound out of Maschine. And this is a fully done project, like mixed and everything. So if I go ahead and turn off all of these. So now I muted all the channels inside FL Studio, and now we'll see how it sounds together with Maschine when I made a beat inside the Maschine. Oh, and by the way, this thing doesn't do anything, so you can just either leave it on or off. I just turn it off because I was trying to see if it's gonna work or not. So you can just like do whatever with it. The main thing is that when you're done making a beat in Maschine, you just put this volume all the way down, and then you don't get another sound from the plugin itself. So now we have just the sound from here, and we have this a cappella playing together with the beat. And as you can see, it syncs up really nice. And if you want to see it in here, hold on. I put these things up here just so you know where it is. And me too when I was doing it, so I can see that it really synced up at this part I specified, right? Okay, so now you have the basic idea how it works. So when you're done with the beat, you made it in here. I'm not gonna go into how you make a beat inside Maschine. You have plenty of those. It works exactly the same in the way they show it in all the tutorials. So you don't have to worry about using this in standalone and using this in FL Studio. The only thing that's different is that your tempo is inherited from the host. Any tempo related functions on the Maschine controller itself, they're not gonna work well inside FL Studio. The process is totally the same. Now there is a way, when using Maschine inside FL Studio, there is a way to like route different groups to the mixer in FL Studio, and then you don't have to export the wave files. But I find it that it's better to do that. If you just connect them to the mixer, then you don't have exported trackouts. And when you're making beats, exported trackouts is something that you want to have. So the part of your workflow actually becomes something that you would have to do anyway in the end. So for me, this makes a lot more sense to just export them and then mix them here. So you have trackouts before they were mixed, and then you can send them to people when you sell that beat, and they can mix in themselves however they want. You could do this, but it feels clunky. You have to set up like here. You can set up like where it's gonna go and stuff like that. So what you can do, like when you've made your beat, you can just go here and you can go to export audio. Make sure you leave this thing split by section off. The split by section thing, I started talking and then I went somewhere with it. You don't want to do this because it's gonna export every single scene in your project, every single section. So every time you see an intro, pre-verse, blah blah blah, every scene you did and then put in your song mode, it's gonna export a separate file for it. What that means is that you're gonna have a snare for the intro, snare for the pre-verse, snare for the verse, snare for the hook, and then snare for the bridge and for outro and for whatnot. And then you're gonna have like 7 or 8 times more files than you need to have. You would get a track out normally for all of these groups and for all the sounds in the group. So if you have a drum kit, it would export separately the kicks and the snares and the hats and whatever. And you can actually change that here. When you say master, it's just gonna export the finished product. When you say groups, it's gonna export your thing, but it's not gonna separate the kicks and the drums and the snares if you have them, for example, in this here kit. But if you put in sound, then you can just open this, and then you can even choose not to export something if you don't need it, or if it's an empty pattern or whatnot. It would be awesome if you could just click something and then it would just mute everything or not export everything that it's not actually used inside the project, because many times when you make a beat, you experiment and see if something works, but then it's left inside the project and then you don't use it in the end, and it just takes your time to export for nothing, and you have an extra file that you have to delete later inside FL Studio and stuff like that. So it would be really awesome if you could just press something and it just bypasses all the files that don't have any data inside them. But it works. It's like when you export this thing, you can just specify here the folder where you want it exported, and when you're done, you just find that thing in this browser here and you drop it inside, and that's it. You delete the ones that are empty, and then you go ahead and mix it however you want. So that's it. If there's any questions, leave them in the comments. If you want me to do a full tutorial on Maschine, I could do that as well, because I've been using Maschine for like a half a year now, so I find myself kind of confident with it, but I'm still kind of learning. Also, we didn't talk about saving your projects when working this way. Now, I'm not really sure about this thing, but I saved both of them just in case. I saved both the FL Studio project, and I saved the project in Maschine as well. Now, I think when you just save your FL Studio project, that it's gonna load up your Maschine. It's gonna remember everything you did inside. It should work like this. I think I did try it out, but to be on the safe side, save them both. Even if it works, it's better to have a backup just in case. If one file gets corrupted, you still get the beat, and then you can work with that. Okay, so I'm trying to think if I forget something while we're talking about it. There are a couple of quirks that I hope there's a solution for it. For example, you cannot resize this window, so if you have a really big project, it's gonna get really cluttered really fast, but that doesn't bug me that much because you can do everything on the controller itself. You can see your project, navigate, like put in, record, whatever. You just like use the screen for typing stuff in and opening not even opening projects. You can open projects from the controller. So if you know how to do that, feel free to tell me, because I cannot get it to resize it. This is the only thing that I can resize with it, and it's not really that useful. I just want to say that I've been using FL Studio for over a decade now, and I completely switched to making beats on Maschine as soon as I got it and started using it and learned how it works. It's kind of ironic because when FL Studio first came out, their motto was like the fastest way from your brain to your speakers, and now I feel that Maschine is actually doing it even better than FL Studio did. The biggest quirk with FL Studio for me today is finding the right sound, and in Maschine it's so intuitive. It's like you have all your pads, all your snares, all your kicks, like everything is there. You want to do chords, no problem, just press the button chords. It's like everything is under your finger, and then you just have to arrange it, and just it's so quick. So the cool part for me that you get to separate the beat making process from the mixing process. I will never stop using FL Studio because it's like my #1 DAW, and I do all my mixes and mastering and everything inside. I record my vocals in it when I make songs and stuff like that. But for the beat making part, that's like the Maschine is the king there. So yeah, that's it, guys. I hope you learned something, and I hope I helped you decide if you want to use Maschine with your FL Studio if you didn't buy it yet. If you did buy it, I hope you like it, because to me it's the most amazing piece of hardware that I ever got when it comes to music. So yeah, if you have any questions, just drop them down, subscribe, like, and you know the drill. See you later. Bye.